It looked like they were on a date and he was being a jerk.
I was a little embarrassed to ask Pete if he would look in my pants.
Okay, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, it was like,
So wasps tend to sting more when it's cold and windy.
oh, William Reeder treated the entire city as his own test garden.
So I grabbed the wasp and it stung me again.
Welcome back to the Helpful Gardeners podcast. Well, we're well into summer. A lot of our planting is done. We're now in that stage of getting to enjoy the garden. And so I thought it'd be really fun to kind of check in and see how things are going. And I think one of my favorite things is talking to other gardeners, right? Like we talk to each other every week.
Yep.
And we get to know each other and sort of our gardening endeavors. And I love going in and talking to people like down on the floor, like in the greenhouse, and being like, tell me about your garden. And my favorite thing is when folks like bring out their phones and like it's like showing off your children, right? You're like, I just grew this plant this year and I'm so excited. Yeah.
So Nick has said when he interviews people, often in an interview, Nick will be asking them about garden experience.
Yeah.
And they'll bust out their phones and they're showing them pictures of their garden during an interview.
I love that so much. I remember as a cashier, that was one of my favorite things, was hearing like the stories from folks. I remember there was this one lady who she had a plant. I think it was a bonsai or a jade plant, something like that. And it had been handed down to her.
Nice.
Like it had been like given through a will. And I know some people might not welcome that, but she was super excited.
Yeah.
She was like, I have this plant and it reminds me of, this so-and-so family member. And then she, again, popped out her phone, was so proud of it.
But the other thing too, right? And I think we're especially jaded, might be the right word. No, because what I mean is, the vast majority of pictures we see is people going, what's wrong with my garden?
Exactly.
What's wrong with my plant, right? They come and they go, what's killing my lawn?
Yeah.
Or what bug is this?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we see predominantly. So when somebody's just like, oh, hell, there's nothing wrong. Look how awesome this is. You're like high-fiving because it's not that we can't diagnose. That's literally what we do.
Exactly.
But it's nice to get that like positive reinforcement where it's not like, oh God, another problem. Like, but it's like calling your doctors being like, I need an appointment. You go in, the doctor's like, what's wrong? You're like, nothing. I feel fit as a fiddle. Like, I've never seen you like this. High five.
Yeah, exactly. I'm totally fine, but just cool dude,
How are you?
Yeah, exactly. No, but I love that. And I love going on Instagram and just seeing how we both have a mutual friend, Bree, and we're following her gardening journey right now on Instagram. And she's got this whole garden bed that she's trying to reconstruct in the front of her yard. And so it's really cool to see the progress of it and to see them working. And I just love it. So it got me thinking about today's episode and just talking about those garden anecdotes. And I know if you've been following us for a while now, you will know that we digress a lot and we share a lot of our gardening stories here on the podcast. So there's always something to go back and listen to. But I thought we would come to here today and just kind of chat about some of our more memorable garden experiences. I obviously it's no secret, I've just moved into a new home. And so I'm starting to discover some of the cool things about it. And one of the things that I have noticed compared to my little townhouse that didn't have a yard, it backed onto a garage. And so it was just a lot of concrete and rocks and dirt and that kind of thing. And now I'm faced with a lot more wildlife. We're right next to Fish Creek Park. Well, close-ish. A few blocks. And
That's close enough.
It's close enough. I mean, we get a lot of birds. We get, we're seeing some odd holes peeping up in our garden. But one of the more memorable experiences that I had actually happened to me the other day. And it had to do with rabbits.
Okay.
Like so usually when you see a rabbit, it's kind of like squirrels. It's like one.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of loafing and they're just hanging out or nibbling grass or whatever. I'm hearing this weird sound. I'm inside of my kitchen and I'm hearing this almost like when cats start going at it.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I thought I'd just put that out there in case somebody didn't know.
We don't need sound effects. We got Colin. Yeah. It was like, it was like that. Like,
what?
It sounds so weird
from a bunny.
It was from a bunny. But I was like, what is that sound? I've never heard that sound. I'm like, I'm new to the neighborhood. I'm like, is there something going on in this neighborhood? Like, is this normal?
Yeah.
So I go out to my front door and I usually keep everything open. So I all of a sudden I'm like, oh, stand still. And Brad's in the house and I see this rabbit and I'm like, Brad. And he's thinking like, oh no, what's going on, right? He comes up, I'm like, be so quiet. Because if you make a major noise, you're going to scare them. There were 3 rabbits, but I'm going to actually play the video because
why not?
Because this just blew me away.
I want to see it now too. Oh, they're fighting. Oh, is that a love triangle going on or something?
Right, though, I instantly thought of Days of Our Lives. I was like, I have my own soap opera going on.
Yeah.
Wait for it.
Oh,
You can tell.
yeah.
Look at those ears.
And then the other one went from. Oh, you're in trouble now, buddy.
Wait for it. Oh, sneak attack.
Oh, and then now he's hitting the other one.
I know. I'm like, I don't know what you want.
Oh my God. The bun and the restless. Oh, now he looks scared.
Yeah, just like, what? Down to loaf.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I saw this was happening. And then it's so weird because they did this for like, and they would just chill it sometimes. I have like a 5-minute long video. I had to stop it, restart it. And then I had another 2.5-minute long video. And then,
I'm not a rabbit expert. I've been around a lot of wildlife, but I'm not a wildlife expert. I'm a wildlife enthusiast.
Yes.
But it doesn't look like they're playing.
No, and they were making that sound and like they wouldn't let that one rabbit alone. Like I wonder if it was like a mating thing or...
It didn't look like that one rabbit would leave those 2 alone.
Yeah.
Like it looked like they were on a date and he was being a jerk.
Third wheel.
Yeah, exactly. Like trying to ruin their date. Maybe one of those bunnies stood him up and went on a date with the other bunny, and then he was like jilted bunny. And
who knew that there was like these neighborhood politics and I didn't know about moving in?
I know what you're like. I guarantee if you see them, all it's going to take is you to see them another 2 times and they're going to have names.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm totally going to tell them apart. I'm going to know their story. I'm going to know everything. But
you'll start profiling them.
Yeah. But isn't that so cool? Like the type of wildlife that you get in. And it's not something that we had expected to happen. We were like, oh, we'll probably get, some more birds or whatever, but we weren't expecting to get so much activity. Yep. I think that's something that is just like a happy accident.
But you know what the best part of that is? So many people, I think they lose their appreciation for animals like rabbits and squirrels and stuff like that. And Jenny will do it now where she'll call for me and same as you, and I've done it to her, I've done it to Harry, Harry's done it to us. And you're like, oh, what do they want? So you come walking in and their fingers up and they're like, shut up.
Yeah.
And immediately you start walking. You're like, oh, what's going on?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Totally. They're like, because that's the thing. They want you to be involved in it, but they're just like, don't you dare say a word. Don't make any, like they want you to be there, but just like, don't ruin the moment. Oh, it's so cool. Do you ever get any wildlife at your house?
Rabbits, squirrels.
Do you get blue jays?
No, you know what? My sister used to in Beddington.
Really?
Yeah, I've never had a blue jay. I'm not really a birder though. Mm-hmm. Chickadees, Bohemian waxwings. I remember years ago at my mom's garden. So my sister, when she had a garden, and my mom had this typical Calgary cotoneaster hedge. Mm-hmm. And all the birds chirping around doing the thing, and I hear this. And all the birds just shut up and they disappear and they're in the hedge. And I see this and I don't know what it was. Again, I love them, but I can't identify them. But some kind of falcon, some kind of raptor.
Whoa.
And it lands on top of the shed. And everything now in the neighborhood, every animal is shut up. Every animal is like, shh, don't say a word. And I know that there's a flock of, maybe they were sparrows. I don't think they were chickadees, but little birds.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, this is kind of interesting. And I'm watching the whole thing. I'm like, I'm not moving. And I was outside too. It was cold, but I'm like, I'm not moving. Like I got to watch this. And then out of nowhere, and I still to this day don't know why. I don't know if they were taking one for the team, if they got pushed out, if it was a bird dare.
Yeah.
One of the birds left the hedge.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And it flew past me probably about as far apart as we are. and the falcon, the raptor, whatever, took off after it. I have never seen a little bird fly so fast in my
gosh.
This guy was giving it, and he went boom, and then the raptor whoo, right after him, and then all the other birds took off somewhere safer. And I don't know what happened, because by the time I managed to move around, they were gone.
Oh my goodness.
So I don't know if that little bird made it somewhere safe. If
I can't believe you got to witness that.
Yeah, if that little bird became a snack.
Because you were outside enjoying your garden, you got a chance to actually see that. There's also a really funny thing. Like, I find when folks are out in the garden, everybody's got like a bee story. Do you know, like, I remember as a kid, I was so scared of bees. And as I got older and started to find the appreciation of bees, and that's why I love why we start talking about bees with young children, and like the benefits of bees, and kind of like.
Can I ask you a question, though?
Yeah.
Were you scared of bees specifically, or were you scared of, like, were bees and wasps and hornets and yellow jackets all lumped into one category?
Yes, and that was exactly it. Yeah, just like the...
That's what I think it is. I think a lot of people, and I'm not saying it's wrong or anything, a lot of people have that, but I think it's kind of like, it's yellow, it's making a buzzing sound, it can sting me, I'm out.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And especially when they sting, or when they go buzz by your ear and like, ugh, you know. I found this story online, and it was really fun. I thought I would share it. I've had several bad experiences with the garden that are laughable now, like the bumblebee in my pants that stung me 8 times. Before driving home to treat the area, I had to know the bee was no longer in my pants. I'm like, how? How did you do that? The only person around to help was this nice retired gentleman with a neighboring garden. I was a little embarrassed to ask Pete if he would look in my pants to be sure that the bee was gone. But I guess he said he gave me a cantaloupe afterwards. Like, I don't understand. He's like, I discovered one of the bee's barbed legs was still caught in my underwear. And then she took it, glued it onto a page in her garden journal to remember the story.
Oh my God.
I'm like, I'm sure, like, you've been stung by bees.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I've been stung by a bee. But I've never had a story like that where you have to go next door to ask a neighbor if you have a bee in your pants. If you have a bee in your pants.
I got stung by a wasp one time. And so wasps tend to sting more when it's cold and windy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep. So, because they get blown around, and they're naturally just aggressive jerks anyway.
Yeah.
So... it was years ago when I worked on the farm in Quebec. I think we're just having a coffee break or something, and a wasp got blown into me. It was a windy fall day, and it stung me. Okay, and I got mad. Okay, so I grabbed the wasp, and it stung me again. Aces, dude.
That wasp is winning.
Yeah. I was like, ow. Ow! And the wasp flies away, and I'm like, oh, I got 2 stings to deal with.
Okay, grasshopper.
Yeah, like, I'm sure there's a life lesson, but I didn't get it at all. But no,
That's so funny though, like that everybody kind of has like a bee sting story. I have to share this story though. One of my favorite gardening anecdotes is the day that Brad, my husband, met my family for the first time. Brad's like, I mean, you know, Brad, he's like like a golden retriever. He's loyal. He's like the first one to go help out. He wants to be involved, like that kind of thing. And so he was nervous because it was Thanksgiving dinner. My grandparents had come in from Creston, BC, and my mom was hosting Thanksgiving dinner.
Nothing better than meeting somebody's entire family the first time on a big occasion.
Oh, totally. I know Brady
right under the bus.
I mean, thankfully he'd met my mom at that point. So, I mean, the grandparents though, you know, absolutely. So he went to Walmart. He got a nice plaid shirt. He loves his plaid. He got new jeans, all of the thing. Like he really wanted to make a good impression. So he comes in and he does like the initial meet and greet. And then somehow, I don't even know how this happened, but they ended up going into the garden. And my mom had this pond that my dad had that sort of like, he made sure it didn't come out. It was in the ground. And they've been trying to get this pond liner out because she wanted to put soil in and start growing like rhubarb, perennials, all that stuff. So Brad's like, oh, I can help.
course.
And my grandfather is this he was this old farmer guy, like big hands, like spent his life working, driving truck, farming, cattle, all of that kind of thing. So
blue collar, hard worker,
totally,
good guy. Yep.
Yeah. So before I know it, I'm in the kitchen, I'm getting dinner ready. Before I know it, they're both in the garden hauling this pond liner out. And they know, okay, I'll just say it. There was cement in there. And they were trying to pull it out. I'm
Your dad really didn't want that to move.
My dad was a creative individual. I will tell you that. And they were trying to haul this thing out. And it was going to take just brute strength to get this thing out. Meanwhile, Brad's covered in dirt. He's just dirty, just his shirt's right off, everything.
So he did this in his new clothes.
In his new clothes. He did not. No, he did not change. He didn't have anything. He was just and so then somehow they finally haul it out. And that was the day that he bonded with my grandfather. My grandfather had so much respect for that guy. And ever since then, my mom has he's the favorite child now in the family. Whenever my mom needs anything in the garden, Brad's always the first one there, whether it's mowing the lawn or pruning or getting apples off the apple tree or, any heavy lifting or whatever the case may be, cleaning the gutters. Brad's the guy. But it's just so funny that his commitment, he wasn't no, these are new clothes. He was just okay, roll up the sleeves, get in there.
And the thing is so, my dad, blue collar worker, and I might have gone to school for it, but I spent my days digging and landscaping. And people like your grandfather, they would understand if you were oh, well, I'm dressed for dinner.
Yeah.
Right? They get it. But they will massively respect if you're I don't care that I'm dressed for dinner. I'm going to help.
No, but here's the funny thing. My step-grandmother is that person. There is a set of clothes for dinner. She was very more proper, called events, functions, that kind of thing. And so I think that my grandfather just really had a soft spot for Brad because he's just this means that we don't have to wear nice clothes for dinner.
Yeah. And you know what though? There's nothing, if I was a kid and I sat down at the table, if I even thought about wearing a hat before my ass touched the seat, get that hat off at the table.
Oh, wow.
So introduced Harry to my mom when I met Jenny, and they got along great and hit it off, no problem. And we went for Christmas, and Harry was wearing a ball cap. Yeah. So we sat down not just for any dinner, but for Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
And I was Harry, can you grab your hat? And my mom's oh, he's fine. And I was oh. I couldn't sit down for Monday night beans on toast with a hat on. But Christmas dinner for the grandkid? Go ahead. Why don't you put your elbows on the table too, buddy? Put your feet up. Come on.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I know that level is definitely different there for sure.
Yeah, the level changes, but
I thought so much fun though. So so I would love to know what your stories are in the garden. If you have any garden anecdotes, maybe you found something cool in your garden, or maybe you have a funny experience like a bee and
in your pants.
Yeah, maybe you have a funny neighbor experience, right? Yep. That
I remember one time, not a bee. I'll finish with this really quick. We're sitting outside, not actually gardening, but we're having a barbecue.
Okay.
And there were friends there and whatnot. And I'm sitting opposite a buddy of mine, Johnny. And Johnny's just drinking a beer, casual. And Johnny just looks at me and he goes, huh. And he points and I look down and I had a garden spider this big on my leg.
No.
Yep.
That's your worst nightmare.
I was bam. And I flicked it.
Oh, no.
And I was oh, my God. And then we hear this ungodly cry. And we all look. And I flicked it just be anywhere but here. Oh, no. Not thinking, be anywhere but here and maybe not on the face of a 2-year-old. Oh, no. And the best part is that every single adult, even the ones not scared of spiders, froze because everybody's huh.
Oh yeah, what do you do, right? You gotta you save the kid. How's the kid gonna react?
Yeah, and then his dad, who was an incredible gardener, just looked at us all you guys all losers, and just plucked the spider off, put it in a plant, and that. But Yeah.
A+ dad.
I should check in with that kid and be like, how's your arachnophobia?
Do you have any like that would totally
Yep.
impact you for life. Oh my goodness. I love that though. So I would love to know what your garden anecdotes are. Feel free to reach out to us. We're available on email, info@goldenacre.ca. Just put podcast in the subject line and we'll catch it. You can also reach out to us through Golden Acre Home and Garden on Instagram, Facebook, and we're also on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. So you can put a little comment down in there, and we'd love to know what your garden stories are, and we'll share them on the show. I just want to leave with something that sort of inspired me as well for this episode. I was looking into sort of garden stories from our own city.
Okay.
And if you don't know, we are from Golden Acre Home and Garden here in Calgary, Alberta. You can come by and visit us. The greenhouse is open and lots of cool stuff going on right now for summer. But we have this garden in Calgary called the Reader Rock Garden.
Oh, I love that.
So you've been there?
Oh, yeah, like 7 or 8 times.
Like, it's incredible. Have you been to the cafe?
No, it's always closed when I go.
Oh, no.
Yeah, every time I've gone, it's been closed. Jenny and I, one of our first dates was a picnic there.
Are you serious?
And the cafe was closed. So good job we brought food. But...
You're going at the wrong time.
Oh.
I heard they do like afternoon tea there. It's really quite lovely inside that little cafe.
Beautiful location.
Obviously, everybody goes for the garden though. It's gorgeous. There's plants everywhere, and it's levels of plants and little trails everywhere. So if you're in Calgary and you've never been to Reader Rock Garden, recommend going there.
Hidden gem, yeah.
Hidden gem.
100%.
But I wanted to talk a little bit about the story of the Reader Rock Garden. Are you familiar with how it got started?
No, I thought it was just kind of like, because it's attached to the cemetery.
Yep.
I thought it was just a garden for the cemetery. So if you visited a grave, you could go and kind of ponder and have some quiet time. Because like you said, there's all the little paths.
Yes. Yeah. No, I thought so too. And that's usually my way to get to the Stampede grounds is through Reader Rock Garden.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to treat myself before I go to the Stampede grounds.
Before I get surrounded by this.
Exactly. Get a little bit of calm. This is the gentleman that started it.
Okay.
His name is William Rowland Reader. And from 1913 to 1943, William Reader treated the entire city as his own test garden. Like,
get out of here.
Let's aspire to that.
I thought Reader was because it was somewhere to go read and have quiet time and reflect.
That was the gentleman's name.
No way.
7 years after his arrival, he was offered the best possible job, superintendent for the city of Calgary parks, cemeteries, and recreation. This not only changed his life, but also laid the groundwork for changing the lives of Calgary gardeners. While focusing his main attention on a few acres of land just below the Union Cemetery, which is where we know it is, where the city provided him a cottage where he and his family lived at the very center of his work universe.
And that's now the cafe.
That's now the cafe.
Because it's still got that beautiful old greenhouse
exactly.
there.
So he lived there. Isn't that so cool? Now we have to go when it's open because now we have to see where he lived.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. He kept many lists of plants in an effort to continually update the garden beds he was creating around his home. And amazingly, in an era well before computers and databases, imagine.
Yeah.
His lists grew to contain 4,500 plants. He also created...
And that would have all probably been handwritten in ledgers and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
He created a week-by-week garden guide. His grandchildren believed he would have published this had he not died prematurely while returning home from one of his famous slide illustrated talks in January of 1943, only a few weeks after his retirement from the city. Ugh.
Aww.
Reader's notes swept the entire horticultural spectrum, and he was proud that his own garden bloomed continuously with hepatica in early April through the late fall crocus at the end of October.
Every time I've gone to Reader's Rock Garden, I've gone early spring, all the way through to the fall. There's always something happening.
Yes.
And a lot of the plants, a lot of the shrubs, he picked ones with beautiful structure. There's apple trees, I believe there's some viburnum and whatnot. And they've got berries or the branches and whatnot. It's beautiful in every season.
Yeah, it is.
I had no idea.
Isn't that amazing? Like when we think of gardening, we kind of go to the garden center and typically, this is for me, this isn't so much for everybody, but typically I go in and I'm like, what's in bloom now? But not thinking about thinking ahead and planning for stuff to happen at every point of the season. And he did that. And that's so cool.
Yeah, that's what you do when you're doing perennial gardens. But now... Google what blooms fall.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's easier.
This guy kept the ledgers and planned it and built the garden and the working. Because you look and it is a rock garden indeed, but then there's little paths cut through the rocks.
Yeah, exactly.
That you can walk on. And some of them are quite steep. And then there's the bridge and the gazebo.
Yeah,
that is so cool.
Like, that was a labor of love, like 100%, right?
I genuinely thought it was built by the city as like an addendum to the graveyard for somewhere peaceful to go read.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's not a huge stretch, right? I'm like, kind of all makes sense to me.
Well, yeah, he said he was not just a gardener. Reeder was a devoted plants man. And in the style of the era, this meant hiking the Rocky Mountains. Same. Becoming a member of the Alpine Club of Canada. Native plants such as pink pussy toes, shooting star, and the western wood lily were famously collected and displayed in his garden and commented on by visitors. It is reported that he sent seeds of the wood lily to the Queen's sister for her garden in England. Cool.
Man, guy was connected too,
I
apparently.
know. And he also loved new garden fashions and reported on the newly discovered blue poppy when it was first exhibited at the Royal Horticultural Society's 1928 show in London, saying it caused intense interest. By 1936, it was included in his list of plants, a sign that he wasted no time getting this new Tibetan discovery into Calgary gardens, exchanging plants and seeds with garden contemporaries such as Frank Skinner in Manitoba. Harvard University in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and Kew Gardens in London contributed to his great success at introducing new plants to Calgary. I think that is so cool. Really connected. I love that, like, the blue poppy.
He's like the godfather of Calgary gardens.
Yes, and we even talked about the blue poppy on the podcast, not knowing that there was a Calgary connection too. Isn't that neat? That's so cool. So
was his poppy blue or purple or burgundy? Or?
No, I think that is the one that we were talking about.
Okay. So he never decided to critique it when he saw it. Okay. So, I mean, he was an incredible person and we owe him a debt of gratitude, and he might have been a little colorblind.
No.
Got it.
It's so cool. So if you're in Calgary, go by and visit the Reeder Rock Garden. We both love it. It's just south of downtown, and maybe go find the cafe when it's open and see where you live.
Yeah, because it wasn't like closed for any reason other than just apparently the hours I go are not compatible with the hours they're open. But I'll be honest, it wasn't until I think a few visits until Jenny told me, like, that's a cafe, and I've just never been when it's open. But I'm not going for the cafe. I'm going for the garden.
Yes, no, 100%. Yeah. And that's usually what I mean. That's probably what he wanted you to go to.
And it's that is incredible. What a dude. One of the things I love about it, you'll know this. You sit there and it's quiet and it's peaceful and there's bird song.
Yeah.
But you look and you can very clearly see the skyline of the city.
Yes.
You are in downtown. Mm-hmm. There's no hiding it, but it's insulated. All the plants make it a little soundtrack.
Yeah.
So all you hear is the bird song and whatnot. Wow, that's incredible.
Apparently there's also a Friends of Reeder Rock Garden Society. You know how I wanted to join a garden club? Maybe that's the garden club I want to join.
Oh my.
That sounds like such a me place.
Yeah, no, you got it.
I love it. Well, that does wrap us up for this week's episode. Again, reach out with all of your garden anecdotes and stories. We would love to share them on the show, and we'll join you for more garden fun next weekend.
Bye, everyone.